So greetings, friends and followers. This is Nurses Talking, and I am Del Barzi. And as always, if you like what you see and hear, subscribe. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. So here on Nurses Talking, we speak to nurses anywhere in the world and at any stage in their nursing journey, from students to retirees and anywhere in between. And today, I am very, very pleased to welcome Finola Grant. Finola joined the Glendon Hospital in Montserrat, West Indies as a student nurse in March of 1968. She completed her general nursing and midwifery training by 1972. And also in 1972, she migrated to Canada. There, she resumed her nursing career in 1977 and became an RN in the 2-year program. This was followed by a Bachelor of Science in Nursing and then a Master's in Education. She has worked as a staff nurse in a general hospital, followed by an administrative position as the evening manager in that hospital. She retired from the hospital in 2012, but continued to work from 2004 to the present as a clinical educator and now as a faculty advisor for fourth-year nursing students at Toronto Metropolitan University, which is formerly Ryerson University. So, welcome, Finola.
Thank you. Welcome. Thank you.
Why are you a nurse? What brought you here?
One of the things that brought me into nursing was right from the get-go. I was a kid. And that's the only thing I felt like doing. A lot of people feel that they want to do a lot of things in their life. I never felt I wanted to do anything else but nursing. So, of course, when the opportunity came, of course, I was going to take it. I've had many jobs before that, but they did not satisfy me until I turned 17. And yes, it was the exam time, and I just jumped on it and took the exam and was accepted as a student nurse. And the rest is history.
So this is something you wanted to do all your life.
Yeah.
So when you actually got to it, though, was it as you thought it would be?
That and so much more. Because I tell you, when you're in Montserrat and with all your colleagues and friends, and you're in a comfortable environment, that is different to when you're here, where you're seeing a multitude of different races, different people. There, you're just with the people you know in Montserrat. And as a small country, you get to have that great affiliation with the staff, with your educator, with your colleagues. So it was so much fun. It was exciting. But most of all, we used to live in the nurse's hut. And don't talk about that. That was so much fun. So yes, it was more than I thought. And when you go to nursing school, it was just so different, because remember, back home, you work and you train the same time. You are working on that unit as a nurse, and you're also training. You have your time to go to do your training. So it was exciting.
What was the biggest difference for you when you migrated to Canada?
The biggest difference was they did not recognize that you were a nurse back home. You had that sort of unevenness and imbalance with the ones who came from Jamaica, the ones who came from Barbados, the ones who came from Africa, etc. When you came from smaller countries in the West Indies, you were not recognized. But if you were from Jamaica, they would allow you to take 2 courses. I think one was psych, and I forgot what the other one was. But for us from smaller countries, no, they didn't think our level of education, because we didn't go to a secondary school or something, even though you had both your midwifery and your general nursing, they wanted you to start from scratch. So that's what I had to do when I came here. I had to go back to high school and do all the grades straight up to grade 13, and then apply and get into the RN program. They were willing to let me into the RPN program, but they still wanted me to do a grade 10 English and a grade 10 maths. that's their standard. They put these things on you. So this is what you get when you migrate to countries like Canada. They put you in a box where anybody that's outside of their realm, your level of education is not the same. But it's so wrong, because when I went to the school, I'm thinking, I've done all of this at home. Why am I doing this again? And they're not better. I look back and I think, and I thank God for my West Indian English education. It far more exceeds what they were talking about. The level that they put you at is not exactly where you are at all. It's so much better. We're great at home. We're more disciplined educationally. We get a lot more education. I think that is so much better at that level and that time in your life. Yeah,
I get it. I get it. Having moved around a bit myself, I get exactly what you're saying. I get exactly what you're saying. So what were the biggest challenges for you though? Other than the education, once you got into actual working?
It wasn't as challenging. Once I got into school and I got into the actual working, it wasn't a great hurdle. It wasn't a great challenge because, as I said, our training at home was so good. We did so much more, and we learned to do with things here. We learned to improvise so much more. I came here. My challenge was, wow! I walk into the hospitals and the basins that they use to bathe the patients, little things like the gauze, the dressings, what a waste. And back home, that was a challenge for me. I couldn't see, oh, you're throwing this out, you're taking it to room, you're throwing it out. Back home, we don't do that. We use our basins, we do all sorts of little things. We roll up our bandages from cotton. It was so different. And here, what a waste. That was my challenge, trying to get rid of stuff that back home, I'm like, I can send these things back home and we can use them, Not necessarily a third world country or poorer, but we were economical. We were very economical. And we made things that we didn't have. We knew how to substitute and make things work.
Yeah.
My challenge was the waste.
Yeah. I get that. I get that. As you're talking about waste, and it reminds me of something my mother used to say. My mother used to say that willful waste makes woeful want,
Exactly. Totally agree.
Exactly. So you're in Canada. I haven't worked in Canada. Is there anything you think you would like to see change about nursing in Canada?
I think one of the things now that I'm an educator, and it's so funny that you should ask that, because I was just speaking to another colleague, another faculty member the other day, and we were talking about, as Black nurses, we come now into the educational system and we see the disparity with the students in terms of, we were talking about it, we must try and do something about it. Go on some platform, say something, do something. Because right now I have a group of students, and all my students, they're Chinese, they're Indians, they're whites. I don't have one Black student. That is a concern of mine. So, I have to do something. I have to say something. I have to see more of it, because you have to understand sometimes that the people who are in the background, who are choosing the students, you're not seeing who you're choosing, but your names are so important. And you look at the names. If I get 50 names on my, I have 30 students right now, 2 groups. And if in those 30 names, I can tell exactly who they are. If I can do that, so can the people who are sitting in the background, who's making it easier for the students to get into the program. And I think that's where we have to start. Yeah, we start in the elementary schools also. But we have,
Yes.
when it comes down to the colleges and universities, we have to start looking at the people who've got the jobs in the background who are doing the choosing.
Yeah.
Because we're saying that we're a multicultural community, we need to see more of that. And especially with more Black students. I need to see more Black students.
Yeah. We talk the talk, now we have to walk the walk, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And also, as you said, you talked about, approaching this from a very early level, from an elementary level. And we have to raise our expectations, our own expectations of the children who we're trying to encourage. I find that very often we ourselves seem to have lower expectations, and it's a societal thing. It's almost ingrained. We have to raise our expectations. We really do. So
yeah, we have to take it from the we have to educate our children who are at home and show them and tell them you can achieve anything you want. I mean, look at us. We're coming from other countries where they look at us as, okay, you're not so smart as we are or something. But they're the barriers. They're the barriers that we face all the time when we come from other countries, especially in the earlier years. And you have to overcome those barriers, and you can't let them keep you back. So you have to tell your children now that are here, listen, you're here, use the opportunities. Don't let me hear you say, oh, someone else is coming from here and doing this. You can do it. Some of you are born in these countries. What's the matter with you? Pick it up. We're here to encourage you and show you that we have come from home with more difficulties in getting into the system and have overcome those. And it's like being handed to you almost on a silver platter.
Yeah.
So I want you to use, I want you to use it to the best of your ability. So that's all you can do. Yeah. I want us to try. I want to see the self-esteem waste. That's what we have to teach our children.
Yeah. It's a different mindset. As you mentioned, coming from a smaller place, coming from the Caribbean, we had a different mindset. We had a mindset of expanding. That's what was encouraged. Go for it. Do the big, that you can. I'm not sure what it's like to grow up in a society. I know what it's like to raise children in a society like this, but to actually grow up myself in a society like this, I fortunately didn't have that.
Actually, I think we were raised with such self-esteem, and let things keep us back. If you wanted toys, you knew how to be creative. You didn't have to have the tricycle. We knew how to make our own little carts and stuff. We knew how to make our own dolls and stuff. So we didn't miss these things that we see in the school that the kids are craving for, that you have to buy. It was so much more creative, and we so much more appreciated them. And I think those are the things that have built us to where we can come out now, and nothing is too hard for us to overcome and do.
Exactly. Because as even, from a very early age, you were taught to be innovative and resourceful. What would you say, Finola, is so far, and I say so far, is your greatest achievement so far?
Yeah. I think one that I was able to prove the powers that be, that I came from home where they said I had a grade 8 education, really, and now
Really?
at university. So that, I think, is one of the greatest educational and professional achievements. Yeah. Because you have come up against obstacles, as we all do. And
Yeah.
we want to show them, that was this look. I am not what you thought I was. I am capable of doing this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. What advice do you think you'd give to somebody who wants to be a nurse?
You have to have that feeling. Let me tell you, there's a gut feeling inside of you. And it has nothing to do with the money and all of that, or the salary or what you can make. You have to have that feeling that I want to be a nurse. And you know, whole cliche, you always hear, because I want to help people. Oh yes, that is definitely part of it. But there's got to be something deep in you, deep that you have to reach in there and get it, because you know that's what you want to do. And any other obstacles or any other things that come in the way would not make any difference, because this is what I want to do. I started to teach elementary school before I went into nursing. And that was only because, you know, back when we were young, I started to teach at 15. And I was just waiting for my 70th birthday. And so even though I had a job teaching elementary school, it's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a nurse. And so you have to tell the next generation, don't let anything get in your way. If this is your goal and this is what you feel and this is what you want to do, go for it and do it.
Yep, indeed. I don't know if you're seeing the same thing in the same kind of thing in Canada that we're seeing here, but we're seeing a lot of people just leaving nursing, a lot of people complaining about burnout and, you know, I don't even know if the word is injustices and not feeling gratified, not feeling respected, not feeling that what they're doing is appreciated. And so just leaving the profession. I believe also, and they tell me, well, first of all, I was going to say what they tell me, but what do you think is causing all of this? And are you seeing it?
Let me tell you, if you want to, and I would do it, compare nursing at home to nursing here. When we're at home, you're totally respected. And if I go back home 10 times, everybody will be nurse grant, nurse grant, nurse grant. You don't get that here. In the first place, most times they call you by your first name.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And the second place, you have that respect that you have there, you expect it here, and you're not going to get it because you're in a multicultural society. You're in a society where people are coming from countries where women are not respected. You're coming from countries where women are second class, women are not supposed to be working. You are in a multinational society where all of this goes down. And so you walk into the hospital and you're there with a patient, and people will call you the N-word, but you can't let it get you down. Because I know once a patient called me the N-word. And I said to her, you know, I know what you're trying to do, but you will never bring me to that point. I'm going to respect you because you're much older, and I will respect you. And if I was somebody who was going to get violent, that probably would have been the moment, but no, I'm not. And so therefore, you know, you have to rise above that. And so, yes, you get times in your career when things can push you and make you just want to, oh, I want to get out of this nursing business. No, I don't. These are the challenges for me. These are the things that I have to say, I want to be a nurse, and there's nothing you're going to do that's going to stop me. But I know, going back to the challenge, that people are leaving so much now. I find that since the pandemic, of course, this is what you're getting all the time. And, you know, my students are writing papers, and that is what you get coming across in the papers a lot. The mental health issues, the things that have changed during the pandemic. I don't think that before the pandemic, we got that much of it. Yes, people as they get older, they want to retire, they want to get their packages and they want to go, they want to do something else in their lives. But I think the pandemic has just brought this on at a level that we did not realize would happen. And now nurses are leaving, young nurses, older nurses, nurses that are close to retirement. And it's just not the nurses, the other people in the health field.
Yeah.
And that's where you're getting your burnout from. A lot of it now, since the pandemic, has come to the front, right to the forefront. Maybe some of it was there before, because nurses always felt some type of burnout.
Yeah.
My thesis that I wrote for my bachelor's and my master's was about burnout, and stress. And so, yes, you know that is there, but I think the pandemic has just loaded it on us. And so now they're just going left to right, front and center. They're just leaving. So
Yeah.
now we have to decide, you know what, we need to, as our government here has decided, they need to financially make it easier for more students to come in. So you're giving grants, you're giving scholarships, and now you're giving more money to the universities so that they can bring more students in, because you know you need to replenish. You need to replenish the ones that are leaving. So hopefully there'll be jobs for everybody as more students. Yeah.
And you mentioned the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic, which I think, as you say, highlighted some of the dis-ease within the profession. Prior to that, I think, yes, people were leaving, but a lot of us were just accepting things as they were. And then this thing came along, and we watched things change very rapidly. We watched people die. We watched our resources and ourselves being stretched to the absolute limit. We watched the way we were perceived change 180 degrees in very short order. And a lot of people thought, listen, I'm going to just move on with life and do something else. And, this is really, as you say, probably a lot of it is a consequence of all of that. And we're going to have to work and learn some lessons also. Learn some lessons from this and realize that we cannot keep treating, and I'm going to speak for nurses, other healthcare professionals going to have to speak for themselves. We cannot keep treating nurses the way we do. We cannot keep expecting nurses to work endless hours. We cannot keep expecting, everything from you every single day. So
you make a great point, because we talk about respect for nurses. Respect. I remember in Canada when nurses had lost most of their respect. We stopped wearing the white uniforms and the white caps. And that cap was a crown for nurses. And once we took the cap off, people were starting to wear scrubs, colored scrubs, blue scrubs, green scrubs. We watched how the colors of the uniform and not wearing the caps amazingly changed the landscape of nurses' respect here in Canada. I can't say for the rest of the world, but I think it was in many places, not every place, but I know in Canada it happened. And so now we've lost that, but a lot of it came back, surprisingly enough. Since the pandemic, people have realized what nurses are. The praises, we have to thank the nurses, we have to thank the nurses, we have to praise the nurses, we have to support our nurses. I don't think that any time have we ever had such a collective agreement within the population for respect for nurses. And I mean, of course, that does not exclude the medical teams, but respect for nurses, I think, has been elevated to a time when we never think it would, because it was like that respect was just going downhill. And now it's been elevated to a level that we did not expect. And we are grateful. We're so sorry it had to be the pandemic to do that. for you to find out my work and how hard I work. And I'm working for hours which no money can pay me. It has to come from my heart. When you start putting on all of your PPE and you're trying to do a CPR and you're trying to look after patients in ICU with tubes coming from everywhere, people did not realize how hard a nurse's job is until they look now. I mean, yes, you come into the hospital once in a while and you see a person in the ICU with tubes, with here, IVs here. But until now, they show it on TV, what the COVID patients are looking like. And the amount of work the nurses have to do. All of a sudden, you're respecting us, which is good. I'll take any amount of respect that you can give to nurses.
Yeah, yeah.
So COVID had to bring us to that point. But I'm glad that they realized that we need to be respected. And not only in society, of course, we respect each other as peers, but not only in society, but also socially and financially, we should be respected that way.
Exactly, exactly. I'm glad you said socially and financially because, you know, and while we all there, I don't think there is a nurse who thinks that you could be adequately paid for what you do, regardless of what you make. But we need to be financially respected. Yes. Yeah.
Let's not play the game that we all don't need money. We all need money, and I tell you, with the now, we really do need it. We do a good job, and we need it. Yes. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. So I have a couple of one of the things that I try to talk to nurses about actually is caring for themselves, is self-care. What does self-care mean to you?
Oh, what a fantastic question. Because this is something I think every week that I have conferences with my students, I pitch that word self-care. So I better know what it means to me. And it's take time for my students. I'll tell you where it starts to also. For my students, it's yes, you have exams, but don't sit there and cram. It doesn't mean you're going to be any better and you're going to answer the questions any better. It means you've just fogged up your brain. So therefore, you need to take some time out. I would say to them, go to the movies. Put the book down this weekend. Don't touch it. Go back Monday and start studying for next week's exams. But take some time out. So I take that for myself. And I'm telling them this because I take it for myself. I know when to go to the movies. I know when to call the grandchildren and say, listen, I'm taking you here, I'm taking you. Let's go there. I take time out for myself. But I also not just try to do things like that. I get involved in other courses, like I love creative. So that's taking care of myself. I love to sew. That's taking care of myself. I put the books down, put everything down, and this is what I have a ton of papers to mark. Nope, I'm going on my machine today. I just want to feel relaxed and comfortable. And so you take time out for yourself. You go for a trip. I don't care what's going on. I love to travel. So I travel and I take care of myself. And let me tell you some of the things I'll do. The other day I went and I bought myself, and it sounds cheesy, but I bought myself a wig because I just wanted to look different and I wanted to look better and I want to take care of me. And so I went and bought myself a beautiful wig so that I can look great. So you take time out for yourself. You take time to relax. Right? Once in a while, you may have something. You may not be a drinker, but once in a while, say, you know what? Oh, I'm just going to have some Irish cream on some ice, and you just sit there and have it. Because you're taking time out for yourself. You just need to relax. Yeah. You have to have that balance, a life balance.
Yeah. And I bring it up a lot because I think that we tend to lose sight of that a lot.
Yeah.
One of the qualities, I think, one of the fundamental qualities of being a nurse is that you always want to be caring for somebody. It's always about somebody else. You're always looking to take care of somebody else. And sometimes, very often, we lose ourselves in that. equation. So, I feel like it's important to bring it up every single time.
Mhm.
There's another thing I notice. I can tell very often that a person is a nurse without anybody telling me that that person is a nurse. And so I started to wonder, A, what exactly was it that I recognized that made me think the person is a nurse? And B, do we all have that? Are we all able to recognize one another? So the question I've started to ask is, if you can tell me, you can give me a word that describes the most recognizable quality of a nurse for you, what would that word be?
Devotion.
Devotion.
Devo-
Okay.
Devotion. You're devoted to your career. You're devoted to your nursing. You're devoted to your patients. You're devoted to your family around you. You're devoted because you want to make sure, as an educator, when I'm teaching the students, that they're getting this so that when they go out there, they're not going to think the little old man is a inanimate object. They're not going to say, oh, I don't want to look for that man. I want to look for this one here. No, devotion. And so your devotion comes where you have, there's nothing in between you. And that's devotion. You must devote yourself to nursing. And it encapsulates all aspects of the nursing and of your nursing career. All of it is that devotion. Right now, you're having a time when you have students, and I see so much of this. They come in and a lot of the training is done with older adults. And you can you can see it in their writing. You can hear it in their language. You can hear it in their speaking. Oh, when I'm finished, I am not going to go into gerontology. And guess what? I said, but you are going to get old too. So who is going to look after you sometime? And so this is where I'm thinking, you're not devoted to this as much as I am, because that's where I spent a lot of my years. And I'm from a country where when we went into nursing, we had a time when we were on the pediatric floor. The next month, we are on the medical floor, which you have all ages. We are doing midwifery. We are on the obstetric floor. We are on the isolation wards. We didn't have what you have here in Canada. We didn't have that. You had to be on every unit sometime. So you have that large experience, and I call it large experience that the kids here figuring out they can pick out. I didn't have the choice to pick out, so now it's embedded in me. I am devoted to nursing. I can work in any aspect of nursing. I've worked in all of them: ICU, med-surg, psych, teaching, any one of them. I'm still nursing, and I'm still devoted to it. So that question comes in, and I wish our students today have it, but sad to say, a lot of them don't.
I know. And when you talked about them saying that they are not, they don't want to do gerontology, I had to smile because, my nursing education mostly took place in England. And it was the same kind of system. And I remember my geriatric rotation. And I couldn't wait for it to be over. I really couldn't wait for it to be over. And I saw all kinds of ways that was the last I was going to have to do with any kind of old people I was done. And it was so funny because now I look back at it and I said, oh, well, the universe just laughed at me at the time when I said that, because guess what? Coming towards the end of my career, a lot of it was spent in a geriatric area. So,
Yeah.
I was like,
And
all
listen,
right.
aren't we there now? We're there now. And think about it. So my job is to change those students' minds. And that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to change their minds and change their whole perspective. And for me, that word devotion is so important, because in these countries, the students, and I've heard students like, okay, what should I go into? Should I be a teacher? Should I go into nursing? And they're looking at the dollars and cents.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want that. I want to know that you're devoted to nursing. That is what you feel it in your guts. It's deep in your heart. That is what you want to do. You
Yeah.
can't find yourself doing anything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. I see it, and that's a job I have. I'm telling you right now, I have that job, and I'm on it all the time, you know. And I know that some of them are fooling themselves because you know what? They're going to be looking after a lot of older people, unless they're going to pediatrics, you know. They will be in any whether it's med surge, whether it's psych, whether it's in ICU, emerge, you are going to meet the geriatric patients, no matter where you go. So
Yeah, and you know what? I and that's a very good point you made, because as it is world over, the bulk of the population is older. You know, I mean, they're talking about in the United States that by 2035 there'll be more older people. There'll be more people over 60 than any other segment of the population.
The older people, they want to keep going because you want to keep going from a health perspective. You don't want to lie in bed all day. You want to get yourself educated. And right now, I want to do photography. And that's what you need to do. You have to have goals. Because I'm older now, or I'm over 60, doesn't mean that life stops. So life stops when you're not living anymore. Teaching, and I'm still going to continue to teach for as long as I could. Here you go.
Okay.
And I thank God for Zoom, because now I don't have to trot with my back. You know how us nurses have these bad backs. I don't have to go to the hospital anymore. I do my teaching on Zoom. And once or twice I go down to the university to watch them practice their skills. I don't have to teach them, I don't anymore. I don't have to teach them their skills. And the rest is on Zoom. You know, so that's you change in your, that's when you change in your career, and you still are doing something nursing related. So I'm teaching nurses.
There's a lot that you can do as a nurse. There's a lot that you can. As a matter of fact, I'll go back and say there isn't anything you cannot do. There isn't anything you cannot do.
Some of my colleagues are taking up consultations, and they're doing consultations. And they're coming up with all sorts of ways of using their nursing knowledge. You know, what you're doing is fantastic. It's excellent. It's great. And I'm so proud of you. So do continue to do it. Stop. Don't let age stop you. Just keep.
Well, on that note, on that little gem, thank you so much for this conversation, Finola. I have loved it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And thank you for inviting me. I'm so excited. I'm still excited, and I'm so thankful you're doing this, because we need a voice. Nurses need a voice, and somebody has to take that reins. And you have taken that reins boldly, taken that reins, and that is good. That is good. You know, there's not a lot of people who can do public speaking. It's really difficult. You know, so I'm so proud of you. Great.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
And thank you for having me.
My pleasure. My absolute pleasure.